Welcome back to First Alert Forward. Part of the series is aspirational, and it's about highlighting what could be in the St. Louis region. But part of this is also about accountability and identifying problems that historically have held the region back.
Right, but with every segment in the series, we're really trying to put the focus on forward. And so tonight, we do want to talk about some of these stories that we've already done, but also take a look at where this project is going. And so we started the week with your voices talking to really dozens of people all around the St. Louis region.
We need to fix the neighborhood in the city. I think if we fix the neighborhood, the streets, that would definitely bring the upkeep or the vibe of the city up.
I feel like that's what we really need out here. Everybody to just collectively get together and just fix the problem.
Next, we talked to developers working on large housing and commercial projects across the region. And when they told us what was holding back investment in the city, we took those concerns to local officials.
Cooperation. You know, let's all start being thoughtful and cooperative. I'm not going to be a politician. You know, I know all the politicians. Guys, quit arguing. Quit keeping your fiefdoms. Do we really need 89 police departments? Do we really need 89 fire departments? We need everything. You know, I want St. Louis to grow. Kansas City's growing. I don't think the weather's any better there.
I go in the northern part of my ward. There's some development happening, but it's happening a little slower.
Later in the week, I talked with Ness Sandoval, a SLU professor who is also a demographer. And it turns out that our region's population is kind of staying the same. It's not really growing. And we're on the brink of this demographic winter. We're actually kind of already in that. And St. Louis could actually soon see decreases without significant investment to attract new people to our region.
We are getting close to a projection where the birth rate, the number of births in St. Charles County will be equivalent to the births in 1990. And so St. Charles County has seen a significant decline in its fertility rate. I think as a region, what I would encourage us to think about is we are one region. St. Louis City is the principal city of the region. If the city does not succeed, I don't see how the region succeeds. It is the entry point into our region for young people.
We also wanted to hear from you. We've been asking you to email us your ideas and your thoughts about this to forward@firstalertforward.com, and you sent us a lot of ideas.
Dave Brendel writes in, for example, I think we need more events downtown selling houses for $1 if they have the means to restore them. Ted Masongale sending us several ideas, including this one to spruce up the city, saying entry points to the city need to be reimagined. Let's add some color, flowers, trees, murals, something amazing to welcome residents and visitors alike. Let them know we're alive.
Many of you mentioned education, like Lena Pepper, who wrote, if we want smart, professional people to move to the city instead of moving away when they have children, have excellent schools. Go to the top-rated schools in the area, Lindbergh, for example, and find out how they do it. We also wanted to address some of your concerns.
Right, and that's fair. Bob Dogwillow, for example, reached out to us about our conversation about crime statistics, pointing out that the city's reduction in homicides has also come with a reduction in overall population. So he says when we had 150 murders per year, the population was reported at 300,000. And that puts the statistic at 50 murders per 100,000 population. So this week, or I should say last week, we noted that in 2025, murders had dropped to 140. However, now the population is being estimated at 280,000. So this gives us the same statistic, 50 murders per 100,000 population. So there really has been no real decline. So I think we both agree that Bob brings up a really valid point. We don't consistently have that accurate year-to-year data when it comes to what the population is, which is a separate conversation about the census and all that. But we do have also examine what crime looks like when it comes to across the city and across county lines and across state borders. And a lot of the crime committed in the city does come from people who don't live there, and a bit vice versa.
That's right. There's a lot of movement even between states there, and I think there's a more complicated picture too that the numbers don't always show, and I want to dig into that a little bit more in a segment we have planned coming up that's talking about a regional initiative that's tackling crime prevention. On that note, we've received multiple emails with some of the same wording, and part of it reads, I can tell you what will not move St. Louis forward: another round of tax-funded tourism or gentrification projects funded by either a new regional taxing entity or a city-county merger. We've had 70 years of such big ideas. Virtually all have had a negative return on investment. The result, according to the respected financial site Bankrate.com, is that St. Louis is the most deteriorated city in U.S. history.
So what's interesting is, respectfully, we haven't received this from just one person, but a couple people verbatim. And so this message appears to be from a local group that opposes a city-county merger. And so we want to be clear at this very moment, we are not advocating for any political position regarding this.
That's right. That's not what this is about. We want this series to be focused on highlighting some of those big picture issues and also highlighting some of the good things that are coming out of the St. Louis region and hoping to cut through the clutter of some of those negative stories that we hear and again, to highlight some of those more positive stories that we don't always hear about.
Yeah, and I think a good way to end this is actually hearing from another comment, and this one actually coming from Mary Harris Spencer, who has watched the show and seems pretty happy with what she's seen.
I'm so grateful to see a news outlet really showcase some of the positive stories. I loved seeing what people from all over the region had to say about the St. Louis, what they call St. Louis. And St. Louis City is just a part of a much bigger region. I love that there was highlights from people all over the St. Louis region.
And as always, we want you to be a part of this conversation.
You're the most